What's
Oh
there?
yeah.
Okay, we are live. It says so. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm here with Samuel, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different subjects. So, kind of just flowing with it. We don't even have that clear of a plan, but clear connection to serve and bring some wisdom for you all. So, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or say anything to the crew here.
Here's how I'll
Kind of waiting
begin.
for people to join in a way still.
Yeah. It goes like this. It goes. Om Bhuva Sva Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. Welcome. Anyone, everyone. That's the Gayatri mantra. My name is Samuel. The Gayatri mantra, one of the most well-known and beloved recitations that they do in Sanskrit in India and other places in South Asia. And I have a translation in my head. It's like, open my mind, my heart, and my life to your love, your strength, your light. O God, O Goddess, in all things may I see the divine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. I love that mantra.
Yeah. It's a really potent one. When I lived in India in 2012, there's always temples just blaring mantras and like sacred music from really terrible speakers all the time, like the tiniest. Yeah. Every corner, every other corner, like there's a little temple to Ganesha or somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and but that's the one that would always like catch my ear. I had already learned it, but like before I came, but still, it felt like really helps the people there, and it's kind of cool to see such a large and chaotic and multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic society. Like they keep it going somehow, and it's kind of with prayer that greases the wheels in India. Like wouldn't really work without the prayer. They keep it going. The mantra keeps it alive.
Yeah, that was something so impactful for me in India as well. Was just that the sheer magnitude of the devotion, like how committed they are to praising and celebrating. And I mean, on the one hand, it's beautiful. On the other, there's a fanatical aspect to it in some places. But yeah.
The Sanatan Dharma, as it's really called, the timeless wisdom, whatever. Which is what people in the West have named Hinduism. It's an incredible thing. It's not like any of the other systems I've studied, because it's like Tengranism. It's like what the Mongols brought, but it's just this. It's like it accepts anything and everything into it. Like Buddha is a Hindu, is like a god in they think of him as an incarnation of Rama Krishna, and Vishnu, which is to say, and Christ and Mary. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say what you're saying. Christ as well. They consider all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Christ and Mary get, into the pantheon. The pantheon includes all the old gods, all like the Asuras and the Indras of the ancient, like Zoroastrian faith, and anything and everything. And it's kind of like it's an apt metaphor for what it takes, to that's what society is in a way. Like all around the world, it's this pastiche of all these of different belief systems, different languages, different families, different cultures, and I really love India because it's so accepting, even if it's not, but it's accepting in practice. Like in theory, maybe they say, oh, look down on Muslims or look down on Christians or whatever, but it's like in practice, it all gets into the curry,
Yeah. So many ingredients in that curry.
Yeah. I've been chefing a lot here. I live in community, and we're so blessed in Costa Rica to have this endless bounty, of fresh produce. We have a little garden, and more than that, we have amazing farms everywhere. And so all our food, just the fresh fruits and the fresh veggies, they just come on a truck, organic. Everyone, we get a delivery once a week, and it's like, amazing quality food.
Wow.
Yeah. That's something to I don't, that's a big theme, an undercurrent of all that's unfolding here, with our homeland. You grew up in the States, right?
Yeah.
Where in?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're another East Coast person? Wow, I didn't realize that, because I think of you, and I think of Portland, and like the coolest places in the country, like Fairyland, like whatever, the farm in Tennessee or wherever you've spent your time, But
I've never even made it to Tennessee. I wanted to go there, but the COVID thing happened. I actually had.
Oh, you were going to go this year?
Yeah. Nope, didn't happen.
Oh, lucky you, man.
Yeah. In many senses, I am having no home and just kind of wandering very much.
Yeah. That's a theme, for a lot of us. It's and that's probably been one of the more challenging / growth opportunities of this recent phase, which is that idea of shelter in place. Where all the nomads, it's like, where are you gonna nomad at, bro? Borders are closed, roads are closed. At least gas is cheap. I have a lot of friends taking road trips around the country right now because nobody is working at an office, or at a restaurant or anything. That helps. But from what I hear, I don't want to focus too much on this, but I'd really be interested, and I think a lot of people would be interested in what your experience of like the Guatemalan story has been, because I've heard rumors that it's not been as pleasant as it has been here in Costa Rica.
Yeah, they're kind of changing the story every week. They were for a while in the beginning. So we've had curfew. At first, the curfew was 4, and then they changed the curfew to 5, then to 6.
Oh.
So they keep changing it. And there was at one point we had a very sudden, short notice, like everything is closed, and we could only go out for certain days. But that ended very quickly. We had lockdown on the weekends, and now we have a total lockdown on Sunday. And it's, in Guatemala City, there were people like waving like white flags showing that they were hungry.
Wow.
So it was very strange. But here at the lake, it's been, quite chill in San Marcos. San Marcos, they're not caring that much, but around the lake, it's not that way. There's some places where it's quite intense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're insulated from a lot at that lake. In fact, the story that I heard and the myth that I've carried ever since, it was such an amazing time for me there. I like, it was my beginning of my journey learning Spanish, and it just was such a profound time of inspiration in my life and transformation. And the story I hear about El Sots, it's like that once upon a time, actually sort of around the turn of the last cycle, 2000 or so years ago, there was only the lowland Maya. They were in Belize, and they were in the Yucatan, and they were they were in Tikal, in the north. And they were building these incredibly advanced temple societies. They, as we both know, they mastered the science of time, like basically no culture, including the Vedics, really have. And and then we all talk about the Maya astronauts and like them leaving Earth and Paco Votan and all of that. But something happened, big changes happened. Maybe some of them went on to next dimensional density existences and ascension path for the civilization. But then others were stuck, and there was a series of earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, floods. The cenotes all flooded with salt water. The whole system of advanced irrigation that they had made to make the maize and their whole lifestyle over there kind of eroded. And they were like, what are we going to do? And then there's the story of this guide, El Sots, who was like, there's a place for you. And it's Atlantis, it's like this other place, and they go on this journey. It's long and very dangerous journey because it's all thick ass jungle, and they build the Sakbe, the Milky Way, the road of shells, through the mountains, and then finally go over the mountains and make it, whatever it is, 400, 500 miles to the south, and they find the lake.
Wow.
And like that's the refuge place where they relit the fire of the Maya.
Wow. I've actually never heard that story.
Yeah, this guy Eric in Pana Yashel, he told me that story. He's Maya. I think he has some kind of, I don't think he's gringo, but I think like one of his parents is Mexican or something like that. Yeah. But then his other parent is full on Lake Maya, and he's like ordained priest, and yeah, he runs this guest house over there. I recommend it to anyone who, if you want to stay for 2 nights in Pana before you go on to San Marcos or Sununa. It was a game changer for me to be exposed to all of that.
So you've been kind of studying different ancestral strains of wisdom, you would say?
Yeah, one of my roles is a timekeeper. The way the synodic cycles work and my mind works, like it's been like this really since I was a kid. I didn't quite accept it all the way. I did, but I was like, also, I'm normal. I'm an environmental scientist and, an ecologist and, doing business and doing nightlife. And, but yeah, I'm an astrologer, and with that comes the study of time, and so that at some point will lead anyone who studies human time and sacred time deeply enough to really having a lot of reverence and fascination with the Maya.
Yeah.
And and now they're world famous for their timekeeping, for their prediction, because there are a few memes in our lifetime that really touched everybody's heart pretty much in the world, everyone with an internet connection, and there are a few, and I'm very biased because I'm from New York, but 9/11 is one of them, and I guess now COVID is one of them, but in between 2012 was the other, and that really got into people's minds as like a transformation date. And they were, of course they were right, completely right. It's time. It's just we're going through the galactic meridian. We hit it 2012. We're in it. We'll pass through it, and we'll enter the next age next year. Is my understanding, because it takes that long for like if you study astrology, that each sign is 30 degrees, and each degree is 60 minutes. So it's like it takes 9 years for like the calendar to move 1 minute, so whatever that is, it's 60 times 365 or 300 or 60 times 360, so it's like, it's basically from 2012 to 2021. It's like the new age it's kind of like it's being born, but it's still attached to the umbilical cord, and it's about to take its first breath because the mama's going to tap it on the butt, like, like it's it's here, but it's not alive yet. It's not ready yet. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, there's that conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in 1 degree Aquarius at the end of the year with that eclipse. So
Yeah,
some have attributed that to the beginning of the Age of Aquarius. Well, how do you feel
right.
about that? You think that's it?
Well, the Age of Aquarius, the coming of the Age of Aquarius is a similar process. It's a synodic edging, you know, where and so it will be ongoing. There are points of demarcation. So Saturn's entrance into Aquarius earlier this year, which now it's about to retrograde back into Capricorn. Oh God, you know,
Tomorrow.
there's the thunder at first of all the whole day, and just in time for the eclipse in Capricorn, by the way, this weekend, and then there are other ones. You know, it's really like 2035, I would say, begun. You know, but in between now and then, it's like beginning. And more importantly, I really appreciate that question because we have a lot of talk for 100 years now about the quote unquote new age.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, that's always been there, but there are people that you can attribute this kind of stuff to, like Blavatsky in his very dark way, Crowley in his very light way, Gurdjieff and Uspensky, you know, the fourth way, Steiner in his own way, and then absolutely flowering after Jung and the beats and then the hippie movement. And so everyone's been talking about the new age, but what people talk less about, and I talk a lot about, is the ending of the old age.
Yeah.
Because we, you know, it's not, we don't get to have the new birth without the recycling and composting and death of the old. You know, it's like, obviously there is a co-arising, you know, there is, because we really do feel in this time, you and I and many of the people, if anyone's watching, we feel our lives shifting to the new life, the new earth, our capacities, our DNA, even, I would say, with all the medicine work that I've had the opportunity and privilege to participate in. And so we are in a personal microcosmic orbit sense, like, sure, here she is, let's be in her, expand our heart resonance field, embody her, you know, rainbow, golden, silver, copper light swirling in my auric field, you know, painting it with my love, and being healthy and being happy and being at peace with my ancestors and peace with my past, my personal traumas. And at the same time, on the collective level, the need for a death doula, a hospicing, is super fucking apparent. You know, it's like we see the symptoms, we see the hospice of this old and very bitter and very sick and very contagious way of being on the earth. You know, this old operating system, the Piscean leader follower, you know, school of fishes, you know, go with the herd, you know, shepherd and sheep. And like, so I'm really interested in what I can do, and maybe you can take this away, you know, what we can do to assist in that process.
Yeah, it's so much about kind of tapping into this consciousness of love and not allowing the division to perpetuate itself. Though there's kind of, you know, what I notice is like if we talk about a Piscean age, like it's so much of the illusion and everybody's kind of in their illusion. And I think, you know, the death of something toxic, it really wants to hold on. Like right before you start getting those parasites out, they fight back a lot harder. And I think we're seeing that now with, like, you know, people are very attached to their illusions. And, you know, on any side of the coin, it's almost like it's not based in evidence as much as what people hope to be true. And
very much so for many people.
yeah, and this is like equally for the conspiracy theorists to the people who believe purely in science, because scientists are disagreeing with each other. So, you know, how can we say that that is the way either? But people just want to cling to something and
Right.
be like, well, they know the answer because they've done more than me, and it's my job to just tell you what they're saying. But there's not so much of this like individuated, like, here I am, I'm empowered, and I want to help each other. So it's like, if we talk Aquarius Leo axis, it's like
Yes.
both about the individual Leo, like, here I am, this is what I stand for, and then that individuation actually leads to being able to serve the collective.
Yes.
Though it's funny enough that our culture is built on individualism, not individuation, which is kind of different. Like, individuation is like, here I am as unique, and then we have, you know, we've been moving towards that, and that's why part of our education has trained us to think that way. But then there's this criticism, this backlash, oh, you're just being a snowflake, which is the individualistic, not individuated kind of way of like, oh no, everyone's just got to fight for themselves, blah blah blah. And that energy is kind
here
of
for each other.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's a cultural and ancestral like mode of domination that's still alive within us, that's now coming to die slowly.
Yes.
And it's not easy for a lot of people, though I also know, you know, I do see some people that are thriving in these times. So I hope that with all of this we can kind of, you know, plant the seeds in people of like, what does it mean to thrive? Wow, so much is dying, so much is getting flushed out.
I have some of the clues and the keys for that, and because I've had to go through this process myself, and I chose life, and I chose Zion, and I used my individuated experience, my trust in myself, my trust in life to catch me, you know, and say, all right, Babylon, like, I get it. You know, I'm from you. I was born inside of you. My cells are made of you. But that's not the life that I want for my children, for anyone's children, for the earth. I don't want for the baby trees that I help to nurse, you know. That's not the life that I want. I want Zion. You know, I want to be free, and I want others to be free. And how do we get from this collective turmoil, you know, of the parasite, what I call the symbiont, you know, really, you know, squeezing hard because it does not like the prospect of being kicked out, of being evicted back into the netherworld from whence it came, which it will return to. And this is, in many senses, what I'm here to do, what we are all here to do. One of the lesser known names of Padmasambhava, of the Buddha, you know, is that of the, it's very similar to Solomon. It's the demon encaser, the one who takes, who the demon binder, you know, who takes the parasitic energy that slithers around and tries to put its tendrils into life, and it it doesn't evict it from existence because it is matter. You know, these energies are neither created nor destroyed. It puts it in its place. You know, it's also the Christian story, like of the creation of the world, which is the fall of Lucifer. You know, and the rebel angels, which is the ego is there, it exists. Send it all the way down to the deepest pits. You know, and in between we can live. You know. And it can be safe if we protect ourselves and if we honor each other. And you know, when you were speaking, what the most important word for me when it comes to letting go and making the amendments that are necessary for human life to continue on this planet, and for the beautiful drama, this divine comedy, to continue to unfold, and for us to reach our preordained destiny as galactic star birthers and bringers of light and life to all of the rocks that are out there in the cosmos, so that the drama can unfold and free will can be enacted and things can happen, and good or bad, they just let it roll because it's beautiful. The big word is forgiveness. Yeah, because like this is where it's like, what happens after death? It's the weighing of the heart, and I've figured out over the past few years, it's actually not about what we've done, and this is actually why the Christians are right, that salvation is possible for anyone, because it's not about what we've done. It's actually about looking very clearly and patiently and not turning away from what has happened, and just looking it all down, from the strange fruit in Georgia to the fucking Holocaust to the elite pedophilia to Monsanto gassing the Vietnamese and then gassing the world's crops, to every depravity, anything, all of it, looking it dead in the eye, not turning away, and then finding it in our true self, or in our Christed crossroads, to be like, okay, that happened.
Yeah.
And it happened, and that's life. And now it can be it can be forgiven, but what it takes is that truth and reconciliation process. It's like, I think that's honestly what's going on. We can see it through a polarized lens of problem, reaction, solution, this Hegelian thing. But I think in America, it's a very profound process that is underway at this time, which is that it's truth and reconciliation. It's ho'oponopono, because we tell the truth, and we all get our feelings about it, and we're like, oh my God, America, KKKA, man, like this has been a fucking disaster from the word go, like horrible thing. And you as well as I've spent most of my life working directly with Native people and being an activist and advocate for the interests of the earth and Indigenous Americans. So I'm already, it's not like I wasn't well educated on this before now,
Mm-hmm.
but like now it's another octave, of questioning and truth telling and just the revelation, of the apocalypso, the taking off the cloth.
Yeah.
Of what's underneath, pulling back the curtain on the wizard. And we have to look at it. And I hope that the people who are doing all the looking, all these advocates and these amazing human beings of every color and every background who are doing this work right now and sharing their results with the world, that they do it with this energy of investigation in search of truth, and truth in service of reconciliation and forgiveness, ultimately of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Forgiveness is so powerful. It's when we're not forgiving something, it's like we're swallowing the poison and expecting somebody else to get sick. So it's
Right.
it doesn't even make sense to not forgive. And I think part of my archetype has been learning how to forgive intense experiences again and again, and every time it's like, wow, like we can step into this unconditional forgiveness. Though first of all, we have to extend that to ourselves. Like, how do we just accept everything we've done and see that none of it was wrong? It can have bad consequences, but that was what we needed to do to learn what we need to learn. That was what our soul needed to go through in order to learn certain themes. And if we learn to look from a higher perspective, nothing has been fair, but everything has to a point served a purpose.
Exactly.
And if we get to extract that wisdom, forgiveness is so much easier. And in all of these experiences right now, I am seeing these extremes of like a lot of, on one extreme, there's a lot of blame. There's less people there, but there's a lot of people not wanting to take responsibility, being like, well, these things happened a long time ago.
That's a new one today, man. You know, if you want to get a little astrological about it, you know, with Nako and then with my buddy Daniel Pinchbeck, you know, these glorified males, white males in these cases, well, Nako, whatever, not white, but you know, these figureheads for movements. You know, that's Pluto Jupiter, bro, conjunct in Capricorn as of yesterday or the day before. You know, because Pluto, bigness, ego, backstage, you know, or you know, that's Jupes, and then Pluto's like, like you've been edging Capricorn for 7 months, bro, and now like pop the bubble of the ego, you know, get out of here, quit your bullshit, you know. Yeah, because that stuff, heck, that's not even Piscean, man. That's just like Aryan. That's like old programming, you know, from 4,000 years ago of like, I'm the king and therefore I'm just going to grab the girl, you know?
Yeah.
And that's pathetic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw her over my shoulder and it doesn't matter what she wants or not, you know? Younger the better. Like, you know, and that needs to be out, you know? And that I mean, it needs to be outed and that needs to be out. And yeah, I wonder, what do you think about, like, speaking of Ho'oponopono, truth and reconciliation and forgiveness, it's like, where is the line? Because it's really, honestly, this is a confusing one for me, because I really, as a male, as mostly hetero male, as a white male, you know, I wonder just what my Overton window is on this, because, like, I don't want to cancel every man that's made an unwanted advance on a woman ever in their lives. Like, because I've not really done that, but as a kid, I came close, you know, and because I wasn't myself yet. I was 18, 19 years old, you know, and so like I have sympathy for the abuser on that level, but then there is a very clear line. I'm just not sure where it is, you know, between saying, oh, this person fucked up and let's hear their heartfelt, you know, Ho'oponopono statement, and we can welcome them back into the tribe. And then there's definitely the other side where it's like, I'm not a fan of Nako Bear's music. I always, something was wrong in my ear holes. I like good music. This is like Justin Bieber for new age kids. And Dustin's cool. Don't get me wrong. Dustin's a cool guy. But you know, I'm ready to cancel dude, because those accusations are way beyond, you know, and the fact that like he was at Standing Rock representing, that was my comment yesterday on Alan's post. And it's like, and possibly doing that while at Standing Rock, it's like, you know, like that to me is cancel, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There is kind of like a fine line between just extending that forgiveness and I think there also has to be a call to responsibility, because when we look at the narcissistic personality, there's often like a coping mechanism of the performative degree of vulnerability. And so I've known a lot of people like this that you know, they make the same mistake over and over and over again, and their way of dealing with it would be to expose themselves and be like, oh, I did this thing, oh, I'm in so much pain and it's because I fear this, I fear losing control. So
they make it about themselves again.
And then that gets them attention, and you know, people start to think that, oh, okay, they're making amends now, they're going to change their ways. Though these types of people also tend to be people that don't keep stable relationships. So they'll just keep doing that same game with many different people because they've learned that it
cohort
works.
Groups.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and then meanwhile, while they make it about themselves and their trauma and their challenge, you know, the women in this case that were perhaps permanently, that's their Ken, you know, they just inexcusably damaged from their relations with these men, have to live with it, you know, and it doesn't get better because they say, well, I was hurting at the time, you know, and or it was about me. It was, oh, I've always done this. My mother was a prostitute, you know, or whatever their sob story is, you know. And so, yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think it's one that we need to have an answer to right now, because it's where everything, you know, the answer is everything when it comes to trust, which is such a key element in all of this trust, you know. And one of the great, it's going to be one of the great riddles of the Aquarian age, because it's like, when everything is true and nothing is true, what do we trust? You know, like when the earth is flat and the earth is round, simultaneous. This is also Neptune and Pisces, like until 2027, you know, when everything is true and nothing is true, what do you trust? And I have the answer to that one. It was my birthday. I'm a solstice baby. I got to celebrate my birthday here and have a nice party with the homies, and on the last eclipse on the new moon. And people were like, what is your resolution for 29, Samu? You know, and my answer was, I had to think about it for a second, because there's so many things. I'm running a big business. Maybe I'll make a lot of money. You know, I'm in love with a girl, and she's maybe coming here. And then I thought into it, and it's just relax my abdomen, unclench my abs and my lower dantian. That's what I'm working on. You know, that is like just to unclench, you know, and be I made this as be big and round, you know, like, but it's not like eat a lot and get fat, but it's rather just be like, who am I trying to impress by pretending like I have some cut, you know, gym abs? It's pointless. I'd rather just be round. Like, I'd rather just be relaxed and in my lower center, breathing from there, living from there. And as I've been focusing on that for now 10 days, I've noticed something, which is that they say, trust your gut. You know, that's the phrase. And why? Because the gut knows no falsehood. Like, it can't lie. It doesn't lie. Like, the heart gets excited and it doesn't lie, but it can be, you can feel things and you're like, oh gosh, that would be a disaster if I followed through with that, you know? And the head it's like I was saying, nothing's true and everything is true. You know, the head is the whole cosmos rolled into one. So it's got all the light and all the darkness, but the gut, you know, it feels really good to be down there, and I just know. And so I guess that's the answer to cancel culture, where it's like, I do enough research so that my mind and my heart are sufficiently informed, and then I feel it. And I feel whether it's, you know, this is someone who's truly contrite and their ways have changed and they're actively making amends with the women or the people that have been abused, anyone, whatever, you know, whatever has been hurt, they're actively making amends, or this is a show. You know, and they're going to continue in their narcissistic, manipulative pattern.
Yeah. I think it's like a compassionate call out is the solution, because there can be a kind of, you know, this forgiveness and let's just let it go kind of thing. But it's like a compassionate, like I see you and I see what you've done, and I see there's hurt behind that. I see that only hurt people, and I'm asking you to change, and we're going to keep that history alive because that happened. And, you know, when you can build a new identity around what it means to have integrated those shadow aspects, things are really different. Just like at a collective level, we have to build a new collective identity out of what's happening through this age of patriarchy and domination of other races and domination of, you know, certain heteronormative standards.
Right.
What are we going to do with this dominator culture? Because it's been there and it has been who we are. And now we have to, accept that and also hold ourselves accountable to change, knowing that we're programmed that way, knowing that individuals are also programmed that way. They've made these mistakes once, and even if they can make different decisions, that programming is still there. So we have to make that visible and not make that shameful, but be very cautious and compassionate simultaneously.
Yeah. And ultimately, this is why I don't listen to Nako's music, and I never did, because my gut, and I'm also a New Yorker and just such a snob. Like, it's great. My mom, I was raised going to museums twice a week or whatever, like going to the opera and the plays and stuff. So like culture, like when it comes to music and art, like I stick to films. Even I won't watch a Marvel movie. I won't watch a Disney movie, avatars for normies, and, give me Aronofsky 10 days out of 10 on that one, or David Lynch or something, and
Avatar.
It's beautifully shot. I'll give it that. The CGI. It's an amazing video game. It's
like a story about Gaia, though, for sure.
Well, we could go into it for a second. What Avatar is a story about colonialism and resisting colonialism and the primacy of native lifeways. And Cameron has the right idea when he's telling that story. But what he leaves out is that they're going to be back, and that's where maybe he'll change that narrative now in this next movie. But for 10 years, anyone who can feel and think their way through this plot, they're like, oh, right, so Pandora's fucked. They'll come back with 14 times as many guns. They'll have neutron bombs. They'll get their minerals. It's what I mean? It's like a noble story of resistance, but it's basically like Pocahontas.
Yeah. I can see that.
It is the Pocahontas story. It's the John Smith goes into the jungle and, joins the natives and realizes their life way is infinitely superior than the awful things that he's been indoctrinated into. And, but look at what happened to Virginia, look at what happened to Powhatan. Mm-hmm. It's the same implication. It did not go well for the natives. And it's a very tragic story. And there's actually an incredible film that came out around the same time as Avatar that tells the Pocahontas story, and that's called The New World by Terrence Malick. You would love this movie, babe. Like, just your aesthetic and the way your like atmospheric way of being, this very Aquarian and etheric elemental energy, like you would love this movie. It's like, it's heartrending and it's so beautifully shot and so true. And so anyhow, the reason I was talking about Nako's music and not vibrating with it, because my gut said no. And it is, in one sense, the way towards truth and peace and deprogramming is through compassionate call out. It's through getting to people's minds and maybe influencing their heart by having the good people in a crowd, who are clearly in the good energy going a certain way. So now, that's why it's important to, even though we're in Guatemala and Costa Rica, to be sharing the stories of Black lives and to be, just to be supporting energetically, because we're good people and people feel when good people care about things,
Totally.
So there's that level, but then what really fucking works, to deprogram, and it's music and vibration.
Yeah.
And so we have to be pretty careful, frankly, with what vibrations we accept into our field. And then more than that, be very excited and proselytizing the vibrations that set people free, because that hits people right in their bellies, especially dance music and real, powerful music. Drums, Afro-Cuban music, Afro-Brazilian music, really all the music from Africa, and jazz and house music, from Detroit and Chicago, and then this new bass culture that's developed, that especially the stuff that you have at the lake with Modes and El Bujo and all of them, that changes people on a soul level. That's why I lived at the Golden Drum when I met you. I was living in a mystery school, and we were doing Waking Up at Dawn and doing these very advanced prayers and being blessed by the Taino priest that is, altar keeper for the Great Initiatic College and the Great White Brotherhood, aka the Universal Great Brotherhood, and then I moved out and I joined up with the Junction, and they're still my people, and so those teachings are so dear to my soul. But I moved out and I started producing nightlife events and doing a tea table. Why? Because that's where people can get free, like even more so than in yoga class, in my opinion, because you put yourself in these situations where there's good music playing, people really dancing and moving the stress and trauma through their bodies, through their movements. And, one night can literally change your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you with the not vibing with Nako, and I never really understood why. There was that, I think his first song that was a hit, maybe people just played it so much that I liked that. But beyond that, I just...
Aloha Keakua, yeah.
Yeah, that one's okay. And then from there, I'm not getting it. And I also, there's this weird picture I saw the other day. There's like, have awareness for cats in folk music environments, with this cat that was just freaking out with these people with acoustic guitars. And it's like, oh my God, it's me. I'm that cat. Because I just feel like this whole hippie scene, the acoustic guitar playing around, it's like something about it's very ungrounded.
Much more about the drums, man.
Drums, like that music takes us deep. It's like we're as a culture just collectively super ungrounded, and then I think some of the spiritual scene kind of glamorizes being ungrounded by how like ethereal.
And justifies. It's all good, baby. Don't get a job. Don't make a house. Don't get yourself together so that you could ever be a source of support for a kid. What are you doing? No, let's sing kirtan all night. Like
all night, every day.
Yeah. And then people who really get the message move beyond that, but a lot of people stay in the eddies, they play in the shallows and the eddies on the side of the pond for their whole lives, And it's not safe. And frankly, it's CIA mind control programming. it's MK Ultra, it's like just one of the things that has become very clear to me in my research is that, first off, the way I'll phrase this, it's actually another thing I learned at the lake, man. It was just on New Year's Day. Like I just had a flash, and it's this, that all of the truly dangerous false teachings and false teachers are not the ones that are like spewing hate and saying outright falsehoods. They're the ones that actually go 94% of the way to the truth. And then they just twist it at the end, and it's that 6% falsehood. And that's why Christianity persists after all these years, because it's fucking real. The Christ myth, the journey, that's why the Jewish myth too, the journey from bondage to freedom, like there's a reason why it persists, is because it's true, but it's been corrupted, and I think that, and when I was at the lake, I was feeling that in connection to the ayahuasca movement that is now global, that came from the Amazon only 30, 40 years ago. And how, it's how important it is to sit with a stream of that is not 94% good and 6% twisted. It's, just go with the straight transmission, because the corruption, it's like every year, it take like something that has that quality of the falsehood mixed in with the truth. It takes down our psychic and etheric defenses, because like what I was saying, your gut responds and you're like, oh, that's right. Oh, that's true. Oh, that feels okay. And then it can slip in that one little parasitic implant because your defenses are down. And I really, that's like organized religion.
And I see that creeps a lot into the New Age and shamanic communities equally, in the sense that it's like everything is orienting people to creating your reality, freeing yourself. Though, there's when they project the goal as like, oh, it's here, it's you, break yourself out of this, manifest this, create your reality, there's not this awareness of like, this is a co-creative universe. And there's teachers that are teaching like, yeah, we're here to serve, and the more we serve the whole, the more the whole serves us in return. And there's other teachers that teach almost like
good.
the identical thing, but then it's like, oh, you just create your reality, like it doesn't matter, like those are toxic energies, just let those people go. Those people are in victim mentality, let that go. Like, you don't need to help people when they're in victim mentality, because that's a low vibration energy. And it's kind of like a perpetuation of the spiritual bypass that's really common in the mainstream as well.
Yeah, I wonder what they do in the mainstream. I mean, the kids who like don't have an awareness of the multidimensional nature, holofractal nature of reality, I wonder what they're up to now, you know, because this operating system that they've been running their hard drive on their hard drive their whole lives, and they thought this was the only one. They thought, oh, you know, Linux, Ubuntu, that doesn't exist. It's just Windows, you know, it's only like, we got the standard operating system, and that thing is crashing, you know. And what do they do now? Yeah. So the great thing about the truth is that it doesn't change no matter your relationship, like no matter your distance from it, it's still there, you know. And one of the most apt metaphors for this process is Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain, another essential viewing film of the psychedelic underground, you know. And because, you know, they go on this whole journey of purification, of rectification, of, you know, it's all the planets, the planetary energies inverted, you know, and the Christ Earth energy inverted, and, you know, and they go into the wing of the alchemist. He takes them in, and then they prepare themselves, they alchemize their shit into gold, and they get ready, and then they get to the mountain, and all around the mountain, on the entrance to the holy mountain, you know, it's all the spiritual salesmen, you know, the charlatans who say, oh, I've been to the top of the mountain, trust me, I've gone, you know, I know what it looks like up there, so come hang out, let's have some sex, let's, like, you know, drink some snake oil, you know, and you don't need to go, I've been there. Like, and then there's another one that says, oh, there is no mountain, don't bother, you know, I like, you can't get past that one turn, it's impossible, you know. So, you know, that's like the sunyata, like nihilistic, that's almost, you know. And then the only way to get there is just to fucking go, you know. You got to go yourself. And so it's going to be there forever. And it's in a big sense, and maybe we'll start drawing it to a close and end in an hour. You know, the great gift of this incarnation is that we are free to go. We're free to go there, you know, and we're also free to not go there. And we're all going to get there eventually. It might take 1,000,000 trillion lifetimes, you know, but this is a process. And in fact, one of the biggest things is that this is a process that Gaia, the vast biocomputer that is running this simulation, that allows all of our souls that are multidimensional from across the universe to incarnate in a 3-dimensional, you know, height, width, depth universe, or not even universe, but just space, you know, here, this earth, this garden, this island, this mountain. And she is evolving herself, and she is playing out her own karma and her own trials, you know, these that are part of the Gaian soul development to go to the next plane. And I think that we're really close. And that, to me, is what the New Age is. It's not just about the humans at all. You know, we're like we're like her neurons who are experiencing the stress, you know, and like going through this rewiring process. But it's the much larger body that's going through it all. And at some point in her past, maybe, or in her future or present, you know, there was this separation story. You know, there was this division, polarization story. And you know, we're not ready to put it down yet, but we're ready to start intertwining, you know, and doing this, like this Shiva Shakti, you know, and through in each of us, you know. And I also, that to me, that's what queering is as well. It's like, instead of just being a man or a woman, you know, one of the poles, instead of just being whatever, you know, hetero or homo, you know, or instead of being black or white, because, you know, those don't really exist underneath the programming. Or instead of being indigenous or modern, for that matter. You know, we are each our own perfect node, so different. The more different, the better. You know,
totally.
And like, just like Gaia, you know, she's not male or female. She's not black or white. She's not alive or dead. She's both, you know.
Or maybe there is no death.
Yeah. Oh, whatever, both, you know. Exactly.
Decomposition leads to new life.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, I really hope that that we can compost all of this suffering, all of this trauma and drama, all of this this pollution, you know, and turn it into healthy soil.
Yeah, definitely. We will. I believe it. And it's a lot of work in the process as well. So yeah, I guess drawing to a close, I know one thing that you said you wanted to touch on before we began was this idea of ancestral trauma. I don't know if you have a quick way to tie that into.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've been dancing around it through a lot of this Ho'oponopono and forgiveness. And so I just like to invite anyone and everyone who hears this, and you, Dante, and myself, Samu, you know, to, it doesn't have to be this moment, but if you feel like it right now, you know, feel one of the knots that you can, that is extant in your family's history, you know, whether it was a strained relationship with a parent, or you know, a migration trauma, you know, an expulsion trauma for us Jews, and feel it and look at it and say that's okay, you know, like the suffering that we endured to get to here, that was inflicted by ourselves and on ourselves, you know, by our ancestors and on our ancestors. It's made worth it when we smile. It's made worth it when we laugh. It's made worth it when we pray. It's made worth it when we dance. It's made, you know, all of this drama that they suffered. For my, you know, I think of my grandmothers, my Jewish grandmothers, and I say, you know, for 100 generations or something like that, you know, for millennia of being travelers, being expelled, being hated just for being themselves. And they had hard lives, and maybe some of them had to survive rape and survive starvation and survive war. You know, they're with us, and they made it because we're here. You know, and all of their suffering was worth it in the sense that we can enjoy life for them, you know, on their behalf. And so, you know, when you laugh, the world laughs with you, but that's both a present tense thing and going back through the ancestral line. And I remember saying last year when I was in Vienna, you know, the thread that connects is a giggle. It's like, it's just like, you know, it's like that Bill Withers song. It's grandma's hands, you know. It's like that's how, you know, we forgive our ancestors for all that they went through, all of their lack of understanding, perhaps their racism, perhaps their settler colonial abuses, you know, perhaps their trauma as indigenous people of being the victim, being victimized, you know. We forgive them by enjoying our lives, you know, and we validate they're suffering by enjoying our lives.
Yeah.
You know.
Beautiful. Joy is the key.
Yeah. Laughter.
It allows for any of that to move.
Whatever lights
Laughter,
you up.
joy, freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah. There can be a lot of digging and searching for the trauma, and we just need to allow ourselves to feel it and bring the lightness into it. And yeah, sometimes there can be too much digging almost that it takes us into that heavy realm forever. And
so it feels.
It's very interesting that, it's very interesting they even note it in science that, we can see how certain traumas that were enacted at one age then play out in the next generation. So there's this whole library of experiences living through us. And when we start to think of our history and what really happened for those who've brought us to this point, we heal them with our joy. They're alive in our cells in every moment. And just by experiencing the opposite, like if they were hard workers, celebrate your freedom. If they were subjugated in some way, find where you're free and find how you can do the opposite. If your ancestors were oppressors, find how you can lift people up. And life is hard for everyone in these times, that we all have the ability to kind of dismantle this system of inequality. And that's the whole Aquarian ideal we're stepping into, is like, this world has enough for everyone, and we're here to make it so that everyone can experience the abundance that's innate within us. So
you're great, Dante. It's so nice talking to you.
You're great as well. So lovely as well. And I hope this has really
it's
supported
cool.
some people.
Chat a little bit, here and there, and it's like, boom, we can just connect like this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
One last memory. So Patango, the rings. He's got the super heady rings. They're the beautiful, chunky, flower of life, brass and copper. And anyhow, I had bought myself one before I came to the lake, and I was sitting by the lake with you, and you had something going on with your left shoulder, and I was like moving some energy. It was at the after party, and I'm like, and fling off my ring goes, plop into the lake. It's gone. Fast forward a month, I'm back in New York, and this woman that I had met at Cosmic is like, "Hey, Samu, is this your ring?" It's at the pawn shop. It's like some of the local kids must have fished it out of the lake, and she gets it. And then 2 years pass, and last fall she ships it back to me, and so I get the ring back that was lost in Lake Atitlan.
That's crazy.
And it's connected to you.
I need to find out where this pawn shop is. Oh God, amazing. Right? Yeah. I mean, I lost a crazy piece of moldavite recently, and I just figure it's supposed to go, but maybe that shit has to go somewhere.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I lost all of my rings this year, nothing, and it's like sometimes these outer symbols aren't so important.
Man, and what else has rings? Mr. Saturn. Oh, Gecko agrees with that one.
Yeah,
Saturn's got rings. Let's
Saturn return.
Yeah. Oh, I'm starting. Yeah, I'm an Aquarian Saturn.
Yeah, me too. 1 degree.
Oh, great. What year are you?
Powerful stuff.
You're
91.
Oh, wow. We're the same age. I just turned 29.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be 29 in half a year about.
What's your day?
19th of November.
Yeah. Whoa, cool cusp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ophiuchus. We'll talk about that another time. Let's go on in around the next full moon, like in a month from now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, and we can talk more about Saturn.
Okay. Lovely. Saturn's a powerful one. Yeah.
That surly old god. That Saturn Capricorn. Yeah, if we still have we'll go live.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks
I
so
love
much,
you,
Samu.
Dante. I love you,
I love you
everybody.
as well. I love you for. Thanks for tuning in, beautiful people. And yeah, check this out, and I'll link to Samu's page. Maybe there's some more cosmic wisdom there. And
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll be making.
yeah.
I have a new show called Body Made of Stars, and I will be
Mm.
on YouTube and Facebook Live or whatever. YouTube and Facebook on the 1st of July. Oh wait, that's too soon. On the 3rd of July, with
Cool.
a
Right
with a
before the
full
eclipse.
moon, yeah, full moon eclipse. Forecast.
Lovely.
All right, I
Thanks
love you, buddy.
again. Love to all of
Power to
you.
people,
Ciao,
power to Black and
ciao.
Indigenous people.
Power to the people.
Yeah, Inokecha Latin. Yeah, Pura vida.
Adios. Pura vida.